building and a positive community impact. Fresh talent forms almost 40% of the workforce for a lot of corporates. India is shutting down the colleges at the right due to the lack of right jobs and internships which are not going into the colleges. And on the other hand, the corporates are struggling to get the right talent. The last and the important stakeholder are students themselves, who are quite fussy about certain types of job that comes their way. This set of students are more worried about 5 day working or a 6 day working, sales job or a non-sales job. Some early handholding and some life projects may bring them more close to the corporates and make them corporate ready. Skills Connect in an entire ecosystem of with their ecosystem of 13,600 colleges, which is almost 32% of the colleges in the country, on one side, and corporates on the other sides, helps or intends to help corporates hire and at the same time bring life projects and internships to the students. Each stakeholder needs and wants should be understood well and see how can the expectations of the corporates, the placement officers and hence the college trustees and the students be addressed. We have been interacting through series of webinars wherein different aspects of campuses, corporates, candidate interactions happen. In today's topic, the virtual handshake, navigating the campus hiring in the digital era, tries to cover every aspect of each stakeholders and expectations of the corporate through our eminent speakers. A speaker brings in almost 150 years of experience on the table. And I would like to introduce, I had almost each speaker would have had 2 to 3 pages to introduce, but I tried cutting it down as much. I'll talk about the first speaker, Preeti Kataria. She's a senior vice president and HR head at Wipro. She's got more than 20 years of experience as an alumni of Tata Institute of Social Studies. After 25 years of experience, she is still pursuing PhD from IIM Indore in the HR domain. She possesses significant experience in end-to-end talent supply management, leadership engagement in anchoring talent functions. A global HR leader, Preeti has strong business mindset and the ability to enable solutions that work for her stakeholders. She has a proven ability in designing, articulating, and deploying global people strategies. She leads the group of talented HR professionals supporting the enterprise futuring global businesses line within Wipro that has a footprint across 125,000 colleagues across 40 countries, supporting a customer base of 700 plus global clients. Wipro by itself is highly complex, globally dispersed, which includes digital operations, cybersecurity, risk as services, enterprise applications, data analytics, intelligence. Preeti, I can keep going on with your introduction. Good to have you on board, and I think I'll listen to you. Hi,
Thank
Preeti.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our second specialist or second speaker is Dr. Prem Kumar Das. Mm, he's been a global HR head. Hi, good morning, doctor. He's a group HR
Morning.
head of a large conglomerate in Middle East. The Robust Trade is the name of the company and brings in almost 26 years of experience. He's managed large HR teams across multiple businesses and multiple geographies. To name a few sectors that he's managing at this point in time, healthcare, manufacturing, automobiles, hotels, agro, and fintech are some sectors which is managing apart from new emerging sectors. He has worked with Shalina Healthcare, Bliss Pharma, IBS, Green Mindtech, and a couple of other companies in his earlier stint. And this were for multiple countries' operations. Good morning, Dr. Prem.
Good morning.
Vikas Bhagel. Vikas is the Associate Director at HCL Tech. HCL Tech by itself has grown and becoming one of the largest IT firms in the country. And Vikas, in the last 16 years at HCL, has grown in the organization. And today, he manages the HR supply chain and HR's excellence at HCL Tech with a team size of more than 2 lakh people across the country and across different geographies. 16 years of WorkX and been growing in his career with one of the largest IT firms of the country. And he's been into HR technology and talent supply chain, center of excellence lead, He has global responsibility of executing talent supply chain processes and technology strategy in conjunction with global HR and TSC team. In his HR technology role, he is responsible for employee lifecycle and talent management, HR applications and processes. At HCL Tech, he is the member of the core group tasked with transforming the tech landscape from hire to retire. Just before the call, I had a chance to talk to him. I was talking about the kind of initiatives they are trying to bring in and what he's working on. A lot to learn from you, Vikas.
Thanks, Nanu.
Yeah, good to have you.
Good
as a
morning,
person.
everyone. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
We have another doctor in HR, Dr. Bhupendra Kaushal. He brings in the manufacturing side or the exposure on the manufacturing side, and he is working with one of the large pharma and FMCG companies of the country, Zydus Wellness, as a head of HR manufacturing. He's got 3 decades of experience. He also holds a PhD degree in management. He's a master's in personal management, diploma in labor law, labor welfare, and he's done certification in 5S from AOTS Japan. In addition to his current role, he is an active member of Central Advisory Board under the Ministry of Labor and Employment, and is an advisory board member of several universities and colleges. He has published several articles in HR and IR domain and into the reputed magazines, and also he's been seen on a lot of business channels quite regularly. Very good to have you, Dr. Bhupendra, with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure, sir. And our last speaker, Alton Nathan. Hospitals in India are growing, and he is with one of the largest hospital chains of the country, who've set up new standards of the way hospital industry in India has changed the landscape, and it's going into the smallest towns of the country today. He heads the learning and OD vertical for the largest hospital chain, Apollo Hospitals. He brings in more than 20 years of experience, and he has also worked with healthcare hospitals, SpiceJet, Kuwait Airways, Jet Airways in his earlier stints. He brings wide experience in learning and organization development, talent management, employee engagement, succession planning in healthcare sector. I'm sure in the healthcare sector, succession planning is a big thing, and has been doing it. It's great to have Alton with you as our speaker today. Alton?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I thought I was not muted, but yeah, thank you very much for the great intro, and so honored to be with all of you as well as the speakers that are there on board.
Good. I'd also like to introduce my team. First, my chief mentor, Neelkantan sir, with 32 years of experience in the HR domain. It's our honor to have him as our mentor as a group. He has been the man behind the HR strategy for Reliance Retail in the last 10, helping it become the largest retail chain in the second largest retail chain in the world. Good to have you, Neelkantan sir, and he'll be the host for the day as well. I've got Praveen Garle here with me. I have Shiv Shankar Gupta, who's on the tech side with us at Skills Connect. I have Tushar here from our team, and I've also got Abhay Sharma as one of the important team members with us here from Skills Connect. Good to have you all. And I'll request Tushar to quickly showcase a 1-minute video about our platform, and then over to you, Neelkantan sir, to take that session further. Good morning, everyone, and once again, very happy to have you all on board. Over to you,
Good
Tushar.
morning. Good morning.
Welcome, everybody.
Good morning.
Hiring platform. Hire candidates from 10,000 plus colleges with 1,000 plus cities across India. Skills Connect helps you to hire freshers, summer interns, interns for life project from IIT, IIM to C and D category campuses across the country. Hire candidates with MBA, engineering, IT developers, graduates, and postgraduates across skill sets. No more worries about creating a database of colleges, sending multiple emails, traditional Excel management of candidates, scheduling manual interviews and group discussions. From a single hiring to 1,000 plus hiring, from startups, SMEs to large corporations, our platform has solution for all. Skills Connect helps you with hyperlocal hiring, which provides hiring at speed and scale. Save cost and time. Schedule interview and assessment and gender, college, city diversity. Sign up now, register your company, and discover the power of our digital campus hiring platform.
Thank you so much, Tushar, and thanks for the lovely introduction, Ranu. And we need to get started because we have a very eminent panel here, and we would like to nudge them to talk more. And so we have about an hour's time to go ahead with this. So I would like to start by just giving a small introduction about the whole thing. We've been doing these kind of webinars with a sole intention of looking at how do we build capabilities of students from the colleges. We've been talking about several issues, which are in terms of what skill sets that they're required, how do they build their capabilities, how do the students show the eagerness and the willingness to learn, the learning agility part, how do they understand the business, how do they understand some life skills that are required for them to be successful in the market. Everybody needs to understand these things because these are not taught in the academics. And who best other than you guys? Elton has been logged out, so please can you log him in again? He sent a message. So who else other than these four or five practitioners that we have today at various levels, at various industries, talking to us about the most important thing of virtual handshakes. Virtual handshakes is not just the induction part, but also ensuring that the students get acclimatized and the cultural assimilation of people as well. So we'll deal upon these important subjects in the next few minutes, and then we will try and ask people to raise questions and we can answer them as well from the eminent panel. So thank you so much for joining. And let me start with Preeti, the lady in the group. So the overall scene of actually virtual handshakes and all those things with remote onboarding all has started post the pandemic. We've seen this happening after pandemic more. People have started talking more about it. So what do you, as a HR professional and handling such a big portfolio, how do you think the future of campus recruiting will be? How will virtual recruiting evolve in the coming years, and how will it impact the way career service professionals and support students are there? So over to you, Preeti. If you can just give us some.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. I think the topic is pretty close to my heart and something which I did many years back by, physically traveling into campuses, carrying suitcases. I was just reflecting yesterday with those manual stencils and kids writing the exams, whether it was BITS Pilani, whether it was IITs of the world or the RACs. And, fast forward, like you rightly said, COVID-19 comes in, breaks all the myth. And, across the industry, maybe it was unfairly extremely beneficial to the IT industry if I look at COVID-19. And somewhere that was where the technology boom happened, breaking all the myths, including the topic we are discussing today in terms of the future of campus recruiting. So I see it in three parts, just to summarize in terms of technology, experience, and culture, immersion, and fit. These today, are something which will be a differentiator in terms of at any level, whether it's an organization hiring a talent or it's a service provider enabling a talent. So technology immersion for a student aspiring, for an organization aspiring, or for a service provider or the organizations getting people ready, I think cannot be pushed out. So even today, if you talk to me or talk to anybody, even on the on these streets today, I think technology has just broken a lot of barriers. So that is one starting piece of future of campus recruiting. I think what now we have moved from the basics of technology in terms of screening to getting a platform, and today the way we are embarking on is completely AI, which again you cannot run away from. And as an IT industry, you will also have to be doing it responsibly in terms of challenging the traditional hiring process. So for me, as an organization, as a leader, enabling talent from a future pipeline perspective, I think we will reset our campus hiring approach, and the campus hiring methods has already started in terms of disruption, in terms of the way you start sourcing, in terms of the way where you could not reach, you are reaching now. And organizations like Skills Connect, which bring a lot of campuses together for the organization to get that speed, that scale, that diversity, I think is an added lever for the organizations today. So while you have speed, agility, diversity is also what I heard in your 1 minute thing. I think we will shift also gradually in terms of only looking at a number from a college to a long-term association, which you will build through technology in terms of campus hiring process, which we have already started with many of them today, is not about just visiting, again, virtually today from hiring, but also having mentorship programs, being very, very involved in designing the curriculum of the colleges towards the last 2 years or last 2 semesters, you make a choice. And I think that is also about foreseeing the demand. So today, if the entire globe is moving towards AI, there is no AI-ready skill available. You got to invest in it. You got to build that cadre. And that is where you're going to have these partnerships with campuses, which we are doing, of designing the courses which are relevant to the industry, revisiting some of the traditional modules, along with the faculty. So that whole partnership of campus or the faculty or the academia with the industry, I think is going to be a lot more stronger in terms of purely moving away from a supply chain to actually building the supply, or actually nurturing the supply over a period of time. And it becomes your area of, from where you onboard the talent. So it's going to be a continuum, not just a hiring or a start and a stop, but helping and being co-creators of the courses, helping in terms of building that platforms, which gives you speed, scale, diversity, and reach, to the areas which we would have never visited. And that's where technology comes in. And the last piece I would want to call out is also that while technology comes in, while scale is addressed, the another thing is going to be in this whole scheme of new ways of working. How do you equally equip the children of the future or the talent of the future to be also culturally fit and value aligned?
Absolutely.
And that is where I think we will see some bit of more responsible AI, data analytics, insights, which we are currently working on creating one inside the organization. That do you see some streaks? Do you see some patterns? And how do you bring in? It's not going to be foolproof. Human element will be needed. And that is where probably the human piece will have a bigger role to play. While the person is technology aligned, the scale is there. How do you ensure you bring the talent where the early attrition or the settling or the pieces of mismatch are reduced a lot? So the effort will be more on the element part in terms of the right match of the talent. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Preeti. I mean, you wonderfully put it, because it's not only the technology that helps us get speed and agility and kind of stuff, but also we need to look at the personal side and the human side of the people and also ensure that it is done. So it's very important that, yeah, Elton, you've been working in the OD space. So what are the challenges that you see? I mean, see, she talked about the induction part of getting people onto the organization, but she also touched upon fairly on the part of getting people acclimatized and getting them to understand what is required in the business. So how do you think you as an OD person would help in putting this thing across?
So first of all, to understand this whole thing, let me just put it in a very different way. I'd like you all to all come back with me on a time journey, a time travel journey. And if you'll all remember the movie Back to the Future. So what we'll do is first get back to 2010 and see what exactly happened there. And if you remember 2010, there were desks full of biodatas. That's what we used to call them before. And they were not CVs, not resumes. And people were in their best suits, waiting in line for the campus interview, career fair. Remember those days, the anticipation, the firm handshakes that will actually define you, and the friendly yet formal smiles, and a confident perfume that will back you up. And this is all about in-person connections, like Preeti mentioned. And all this happened through 4 practical crucial steps in campus hiring: campus selection, campus engagement, then campus screening of the students, and finally campus interviews. Now, during all this thing, in the last phase in campus interviews, do you know that 81% of people during their job interviews actually lied? And this was a study that was done by Ron Friedman, and he's written this in his book, The Best Place to Work. And he says that we create, as recruiters, we create a condition where people need to be dishonest because that's the only way that they want to get this job. But nevertheless, SHRM reports that campus recruitment made up almost 23% of all graduate hiring. So
Yes.
even though all this happens, why is this not succeeding? Why do we say that this didn't succeed? It's definitely there. So we'll get back to the 4 steps. The campus selection, there's a lack of data analytics to shortlist these campuses. And that's the challenge that we actually face, which you asked me. Campus engagement, there's a lack of interactive processes. They're all old-fashioned presentations that you actually see. And then when you look at candidate screening, there are lack of tools to actually gauge whether this candidate actually fits into the job, and the need for manual interventions are there. And in campus interviews, there's the lack of efficient platforms to conduct structured or unbiased interviews. So these are the main challenges that you see. Now, if we fast forward, and we are still on our time travel journey, we fast forward to the future and we come back to 2024, we see that campus recruitment is now having a digital makeover. The services that professionals are adapting to are digital transformation, and by embracing virtual fairs, online network events, virtual interview platforms. And we all know that this obviously started with COVID taking us over. And then we went into live video interviews, giving the recruiters the opportunity to meet candidates face to face in a virtual setting. And with AI coming into the picture, video interviewing softwares can actually give details to help the hiring teams to understand whether these candidates are actually soft with their skills. And this made it possible for actually screening them. Now let's get back on that Back to the Future car and then go even more to the future. What can we expect? And I say that the future is definitely going to be a hybrid. There's going to be social and mobile recruitment, social mobile apps that will help people to go fill up everything, look at announcements, updates, company policies, job descriptions that will be very easily available there, and chatbots to help them. Another thing is talent optimization via AI, and algorithms will help recruiters target candidates in campuses. This is what definitely we see. The third thing that I actually see is asynchronous interviews and virtual interviews, which will be used as screening tools. And asynchronous interviews are definitely the thing of the future. And virtual tools that will actually assess these skills. The 81% that we were talking about that were lying will definitely get eradicated. And shortlisted candidates are going to be meeting virtually before an on-campus recruitment visit. And finally, there's going to be job auditions. There are going to be micro internships that will offer everyone an opportunity to work with the company teams on live projects, and then they'll showcase these skills. So the challenges are going to be there, but they're going to be overcome. And in short, the future campus hiring spells TECH. That's tech for sure.
Yeah. Very well said, Elton. See, it complements each other's views in terms of saying that how do we actually build the talent ecosystem in a very sustainable way. So, Dr. Preman, you've been in the Middle East for a long time, and how do you find this play out in that region? And from the perspective, I would like to understand from you, people do talk about technology in terms of AI helping us do the things better and kind of stuff. How do you think that this rapid shift in the virtual hiring space has taught the corporates in handling this thing better? What is your views on that? And what lessons should we carry forward? And what do we need to look at from the corporate side? The perspective that I want to understand from you is, because we have large student base sitting in the audience here, we would like to understand from you, what can they look forward from the corporates when they are looking out for jobs?
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Mr. Nilkantan, for this lovely question. And this morning, I think it's one of the best things which I could do is sharing my expertise and experience over the years. So I just would like to welcome all of you and thank you so much for Skill Connect and Accurate Solution for hosting this wonderful webinar. And I also congratulate my fellow speakers who have shared their wonderful ideas and thoughts and insights. And I'm sure like this 90 plus people who are actually listening to this wonderful session would be definitely benefited. So coming
And
back to the question,
we are also live on YouTube.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
I'm sure like everybody is going to get a lot of insights and a lot of information. So coming back to this, what I understand before, like I was really, immersed in this story, what basically Elton was saying that going through the time travel, and it was really a great nostalgia to feel that thing. And I could see the goosebumps coming when I can really recall those days going to the campus and, taking interviews. And same when Preeti was sharing her thoughts. So I think what exactly is more important these days for corporates, as Elton also rightly mentioned, that digital transformation is happening. But what is more important is the cultural shift is more important for the students who really have to understand, because way back, maybe, when the baby boomers, we actually started, and what exactly these millennials are basically living their life. I don't know, it's fortunately or unfortunately to say, but we have definitely advanced ourselves in many terms. The geographic boundaries are really raised. No more people have to look into a particular ethnicity or the kind of cultural thing. We are actually facing a multicultural crowd where we have a diverse talent pool. So of course, the students need to really equip themselves, understanding how they can build their social identity, because these days they have to be very watchful, because as Elton and other speakers said, that there are basically the ways to now catch your pattern, catch your digital footprint. You have to be careful enough when you are building up your image. And we basically, as corporates, want to understand not only your behavioral skills, but also that how exactly you really present yourself over the interview, and also to assess that what exactly are really the cultural fitment for a particular job role. Because due to this digital, the transformation, I wouldn't say that there are so many things like, which we can, of course, relate to, that we are trying to be agile, we are trying to be disruptive. But what is more important is that how we really attune ourselves with this change. And for that, what I think is more important, that how we can embrace this change, how we can adopt with this culture, and what exactly are the takeaways from this entire transformation. That is more important.
Absolutely.
So in one side, if I see that there is a lot of innovation happening, but how we are adopting that innovation and what kind of emotional intelligence we are really working on, that is more important. Because with time, I think this is a very newly evolved term by Daniel Goleman. And after that, people started talking about emotional intelligence. So how exactly we are thinking about this new transformation? Are we taking this just as a disruption, or this is a new cultural shift? So if the students are really going to embrace this thing positively and not just taking this as a threat, of course, AI has definitely been a part of our life. Today we are talking about AI, but there'll be a time when we'll be not talking about AI. So maybe in the same car of, the time travel of Elton, I will go back and see that when people no more talk about AI, and probably this webinar will be a history. And
Yes.
from archives, people will look back that there was a time people were talking about that how exactly to address this kind of, virtual interaction, virtual job fairs. So I think this is a new thing in the block, of course, but then we would be slowly settling down with this culture, and the more we train the people. But I think what is really required, we need to work on the career service professional, people like you, people, mentors who are really working for the different colleges, the campus, the talent groomers. They need to understand that how they can develop their mindset, how they can make more emotional intelligent people, so that they can adopt this change faster.
Yeah.
I think that is what the corporates are expecting.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the valuable inputs there. So we move on to another very important space where pharmaceutical business and Dr. Bhupen has been there in the forefront. And this is one of the sectors which saw the maximum impact and maximum challenges being faced. So, Doctor, how have you managed this and what are the lessons that you think we can take forward from here? Are you there? All right, I think he's dropped out, so we can come back to him. So, Preeti or Elton or Vikas, anybody? Okay, let's talk. Let's hear from Vikas. Okay, Vikas, you've been in the tech space and you've been in one of the largest organizations, 2 lakh people in the country and kind of stuff all across the globe. So, what do you think from the virtual handshake point of view? What are the lessons that the corporates can take over, and how do you actually bridge the gap of the traditional ways of hiring, and how do you look at it in a very seamless way? So if you can just give some inputs on that.
Yeah, so first of all, good afternoon to everyone. It was wonderful to listen Preeti, Elton, and Dr. Prem Kumar's view on this topic. I think the topic is quite fascinating, and all of us have, got into it because of global pandemic. Some of us, at least in IT space, because the kind of volume and scale we deal in, we have been experimenting in some or other way. How do we automate our hiring? How do we hire at scale? Because speed is an essence, right? Everybody's vying for same talent and everybody's vying for same business. And if you don't fulfill faster, you perhaps lose that business. So for us, it was blessing in disguise. We had some infrastructure created when pandemic came. It really expedited the whole adoption. So so that way it was good. But I think virtual recruiting, and especially in campus space, I think one of the first thing which has done is it has democratized the campus hiring from the student's lens, right? Today, he is not at the mercy of campus placement office in his college. If he has the talent, he can go to internet and see which are the companies, and a lot of companies are doing off-campus hiring, right? Unlike good old days where only a couple of months in a year is a campus cycle and everybody will come to your campuses and recruit you and do the tests. Today, there are companies, including us. Our entry level hiring test is available online. There are clearly defined eligibility criteria irrespective of the college you are, and all those tier 1 college, tier 2 college, all of that is going away. As long as, irrespective what college you're studying in, if you have it in you, you go to that online test, give the test. If you clear the cutoff and you meet the eligibility criteria, you are in. So so there was this template which we had created earlier to say that here are the tier 1, here are the tier 2, here are the tier 3, and I will go to tier 1 first, followed by tier 2 and tier 3. But today, what we've done is we have this virtual infrastructure available for any entry level or any college student. Google it, go register yourself. Tool will tell you whether you're eligible or not eligible. If you're eligible, go give that online assessment. If you clear the assessment, you are in the reckoning. So it is really democratized, right? I'm not at the mercy of my placement officer, or I have to go figure out who's the HR head of this company and try and look through my networks and relatives and find out, can I push through my resume to that company? I don't have to do any of that. So I think that is the first thing. Second thing is, from the corporate perspective, I think it is in our interest to leverage this. It is, visiting 100 and 150 colleges in 3-4 month cycle, taking so many people, taking different flights, going away from their, main job. I don't think so. It's a scalable and sustainable model, and B, it has a lot of cost implication as well. Now you have technology at your disposal. Like all of us, we are taking this call sitting at our home. After 1 hour, we'll go and do our household chores. Imagine this being a in-person meeting. We had to travel, go through the traffic, reach the venue, do this 1 hour conversation, then travel back to our houses. So we'll spend 5 hours to do this 1 hour conversation. So I think from that context, if you look at it, the logistical nightmare which you used to go through earlier to do these in-person campus interview, I think virtual is the way forward. It has its pros and cons as well, right? It's very difficult for you to get my body cues when you're just seeing my image as, stamp size image, and it is very difficult for you to gauge that what kind of person I may be when I'm sitting across to you on the table. Perhaps we can connect, perhaps we could have connected before the session started. I would have get to know about your family, kids, your interest, hobbies. You would have got to know same thing about me, and we would have connected beyond. But here, 11 o'clock, we just started on the agenda and topic, and that's what the virtual does, right? That's what we do in our offices every day. So I think there are pros and cons, but I think we have to find a ways and means to work within these limitations,
Very
and then move
nice.
forward.
Thank you. Thank you. So, well, Preeti, I heard you speak about, how do we ready them for jobs? I heard you speak about it, saying that we need to look at their curriculum, maybe look at their, uh, you know, teach them something about the job well in advance during the college. And I heard Dr. Preman Kumar also talking about it. I mean, all of you did mention it somewhere. Rather than sticking up to the stage of evaluating the person and assessing him. So virtual handshake goes beyond. I mean, it goes. There's no boundary to it. So what is that you think is the most important element in the virtual handshake and getting the person ready for the job and getting him on the job? So how do you look at that piece? And I would like you to respond to it. Is Dr. Bhupendra Kaushal there? Maybe we'll get back to him subsequently after this question. Yeah. Thanks, Preeti.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. No, I think if I have to sum it in one word, I would say it'll be the learnability. We have been talking about employability. I think it has now moved to a stage of learnability because the way things are happening and, technology, I think we've all beaten, to death. Everybody has echoed it. Everybody is aligned to it. Now, that's something, whether you have a crop or you have a talent pool, which is willing to learn, because I also heard some of the esteemed panels saying that people are picky, people are choosy. Now that element, like I tell people who come from colleges for their first, projects, I said, you never choose your parents and you don't choose your bosses, so you got to make it work. Now that bit of, approach building or attitude building or not getting too stuck that my career will only be made if I start in a cybersecurity or only in data or only in AI. These are the tip of the spear. I don't deny it. But, every business has run the business and changed the business. Run the business gets you 80% of your revenue, 20% comes from change the business. If the entire organization shifts to change the business, we will lose customers. Customers are still running their main shops on the technology they have been used to. They will go through their transformation journey when their customers, have some demanding situation. So I think today, the expectation today, from a talent coming into the organization is how open am I to dirty my hands? How open am I to learn and unlearn? So today I have a bunch which would have worked maybe in cloud, moving on to data or moving on to AI. Now it's a gradual process, but there are people who are more hungry, who probably have tapped up their skills while doing a cloud project or while doing a Java project and getting ready. Now those people will get differentiated. So your hunger, your ability to learn and not be picky and choosy when you start, because every project will have a learning. Some of us would have got into remote locations when we started. We never chose our locations. Today, we choose locations. Can't choose projects is my first thing to everybody, that every project, you will bruise yourself, you will fall a little, you will start to run, but not deciding to walk is not an option.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's the piece I expect. And, it's a two-way process. The industry on the other side has to also understand you're dealing with 5 generations inside the organization.
Yes.
So you can't just say, listen, these people are not serious. They don't know what they are doing. We have to acknowledge this is a multitasking generation. This is a generation which knows what it wants. They will deliver, but they have a way of working. Absolutely. Are you ready for reverse mentoring? So for us today, across industry, you need people to be also doing their piece of work to be ready to welcome this talent.
Absolutely.
Because it can't be expectations only on one side. And here I'm going to be the way I have been for 25 years. I will not change. I will have my unconscious biases, my stereotypes, and expect people to run. No, it has to be a two-way process is my view, and the way we are trying to now gradually ensure that while you need a talent of a certain type, you also need managers to be ready for that type of talent.
Absolutely.
So that's my 2
Absolutely.
cents on this one.
Very nice, very nicely said. It's not only the expectations, but also the involvement of the corporate and the managers to get that thing happening.
Yeah.
So Elton, we heard Preeti talk about more from technology and the kind of other perspectives. There are many times you find that, I mean, we've been asked this question quite often, saying that, I mean, I throw it open to all of you, but what we find out from this is that during campus recruitments, school children from tier 3, tier 2 cities lose out because they're not good at communicating. They feel so. That's what their problem is. So, in the virtual handshake piece, how do you think we can build their confidence on the life skills that are required, and how can corporates ensure that to happen? So, first I will raise this to Elton, and then Dr. Preman Kumar can answer. Is Dr. Bhupendra is already there or not there? Is not answering. Anyway, Elton,
He's
go
not
ahead.
answering. He is
Yeah,
not
so
answering the call. Seems there's some urgency. We can
Yeah, please
continue.
go ahead, Elton. Yeah.
So I'm actually stitching everyone's thoughts together, and I can resonate with Dr. Das and Preeti, bringing in their views, especially on the generation piece where we have different generations. And when we talk about communication, some might feel like as if they don't communicate well, they're not open with us, they're not doing the things that we used to do the way that we used to do it. Well, when doing your interviews, first of all, we need to really make sure that when we are conducting our interviews, we're orchestrating actually digital adventures that are actually going to get the essence of your organization's culture. Now, for example, Deloitte in a report says that 88% of job seekers want a healthy workplace, something that they can relate to, and this is vital for success. So it's not about the extraordinary abilities; it's more about how people can embrace your organization's culture, and especially when we talk about communication, how in your digital journey while recruiting, you can make people adapt. So first of all, there are things that we can do, and these are the things that we are also doing at Apollo Health and Lifestyle. That's where we are. It's a two-way interview. It's not like, okay, this is what. Gone are the days when we say, okay, tell us about Apollo. What do you know about Apollo? No, that's what we're going to be doing in our onboarding. We need to ensure that we communicate to them what Apollo is all about, or any organization is all about. In fact, whenever we start our interviews, we especially as recruiters, we ensure that we give them an information on what Apollo is all about. Where do we come from? There's everything on the net you can go through, but I'm not doing a GK kind of test with you. I want to know what your skills are all about. So when they see us communicating, basically, they will automatically open up and communicate with us. And there are definitely behavioral questions that we can come out with. We can use the STAR method, past predicting future, and we can actually check on their communication skills, their interpersonal abilities, their overall demeanor can be actually looked through. And another thing that we actually do here at Apollo Health and Lifestyle is we have behavioral assessments as well. And we're tied up with Thomas, we are tied up with Lumina, and we get these behavioral assessments to know exactly how are they going to communicate. And there's no right and wrong, right, in these behavioral assessments. Everything is person's behavioral abilities of what he comes with to the organization. But what we do is we create a job analysis first. We see what exactly is required for a particular role, and then we match his behavioral assessment to what we are actually doing or what we want. And if it's matching, then it's a fit. But it's not that he's not a fit for the job, for the company. He can be used in various places. So we actually look at his communication skills and we see that, okay, fine, he may not fit in this role, but let's offer him something else and see whether he can do this. And another way that we can actually communicate with them and check their communication is role play exercises. And this is something like a norm that we actually do. Virtual case studies, present it to them, let them speak, and you'll get to know exactly how they're critically thinking as well, how they're adapting to the organization, what is their focus on teamwork. And these ways you can actually tell us, how he would be communicating in an ecosystem that we have. So first it starts with us, and then opening the person's communication to us back again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elton. Yeah. Dr. Preben, so what do you think are the challenges of virtual handshake, and how do you think does it extend beyond the campus hiring space and the technology, or do we also bring in a human content in the entire space, personal connect and human content in the space? You're on mute, doctor.
Sorry for that. So I think the first thing which we should address here is the digital divide.
Yeah.
Due to this new cultural shift. I think, before even we talk about the challenges of communication and what exactly the students should do, are we really concerned about the digital divide? If yes, then what exactly or what kind of measures we have taken for that? Because you imagine there are groups, there are people who basically have not even interacted with people digitally.
Yeah.
Now, you imagine that, people are really nervous. They're really having shivers when they have to speak in person with somebody. And you imagine that when they are meeting these big personalities, first time virtually, and they have to give the interviews. I was listening very carefully when Vikas was saying that these days, there are a lot of technologies and interfaces through which people can connect. And of course, it's boundaryless, which has definitely opened a new gateway for opportunity. But how really we are equipped infrastructure-wise, culturally, technologically, if we have not enabled them, then I think this is just a battle which we are supposed to lose. So I think we really have to strengthen them, and not only in terms of developing the communication skills or the soft skills, but we also have to understand that what exactly we are teaching them in classroom and what we are expecting them to demonstrate when it comes to an interview, because it can be a half an hour session, but what kind of impact we are expecting the students to do? Because what we are really teaching them when we are really taking them in the classroom sessions or the different kind of project work, are we really putting this kind of element in their development and training? If we are doing that, then we really don't have to really worry that what exactly will be their performance, because I'm sure all HRs really what they look for is the right fit for their company. But what is more important is that if you are really working from the day one, when you are nurturing this talent, and if you're really working on these elements of making them feel comfortable with the technology, making them feel comfortable that how to present themselves, how to even design their CV, how to design their presentation, their profile. If they really know that, they don't have to portray something which they are not. So if you imagine that you ask somebody, which could be a very general question, that give me a walkthrough of your CV, and the person finds it really difficult because the person has never been trained so, and he finds this question very difficult. So I think this is where a person has to be trained, and these are very basic. I think Mr. Vikas also wants to make a point. Of course, I would love to listen, but I think before I conclude, I think Mr. Nilkantan, what we really need to work on is, let us work on how we can bridge the gap between these communities, how we can erase the digital divide, and then we work on all the other, the desirable skill sets which we are talking about in this forum.
Absolutely. Very well said, doctor. I mean, actually, if you look at it, the whole concept of, because I know HCL is doing it in a big way, so I would like to ask you that question next. But Dr. Preman Kumar, what you said is very, very important in the sense when we are actually looking at building or bridging the gap, that is where the corporates, the colleges, everybody will have to come together. Now, I'm not too sure if Skills Connect, Ranu has shared that with you, but there is a initiative where you're trying to build this community of people who can actually go and talk to the students and be able to try and bridge the gap, at least build up an ecosystem. So what we are trying to do is that is what we are doing. Yeah. So I will come to Dr. Bhupendra if you are going to be available. I'll just hear a couple of bites from Vikas and then I'll come to you, Dr. Bhupendra. Okay, Vikas, over to you.
So a couple of quick points. I think one is that fundamentally, I believe that the students and Gen Zs and Gen Ys are digital native, right? All the penetration which you see, whether it is Instagram, erstwhile, there are some of these apps like My Circles or Dream 11. Who are the people who are penetrating these applications? You and me perhaps are not, right? These are the audience which is 18 to 20 years or 30 years. They are the audience. They are the consumers. They are the users. Now, what we need to inculcate to them is that, if they believe that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is for fun, and the rest of it I have to create my resumes and upload on Naukri and all of that. So I think they need to realize that all what you do on internet is what perhaps corporate will leverage tomorrow to judge you, because it is not just about what you write on your one pager or two pager resume, right? Eventually how you behave out is what, because look, I don't have much to check when you're fresh out of the college. Like Preeti was pointing out, the shelf life of a skill today is perhaps 1 year or at max 2 years. In every 1 year there's a new technology coming up. So what you learn today is going to get obsolete in next 1 year.
Yeah.
So whatever you're reading or studying in last 4 years, by the time you come out of the college, there will be new technologies in place. So what you need to demonstrate is the learnability. Can you learn and adopt to new technologies, new environment? I think that's what the companies like to check.
Absolutely.
And then people need, and I was fascinated to see, the communication, and in tier 2, tier 3, typically we hear to say, okay, he knows the coding, he's very good at that, but communication is a challenge. So communication is effectively about, can you convey your point to the other person, right? Can you say that Mr. Kalam was a great orator? Perhaps not. But was he a great orator in English? Perhaps not. But he was the perhaps most influential speaker India ever has. He may not be speaking, grammatically correct sentences, but he was conveying his point and he was influencing lakhs and lakhs of the people. And there are many examples like that. So I think it's a barrier which they create for themselves, and there is a phobia of language. The fact of the matter is, whether you like it or not, you need to learn and hone the skill of English speaking, because if you want to work for multinational companies, there are customers who will speak that language, and whether you like it or not, you have to learn that language to succeed, right? So I think instead of taking a refuse in saying that, look, I'm a tier 2, tier 3, today in Instagram, if you go, the top 2 influencers who are teaching foreign language English, the American accent and UK accent English on Instagram, who has more than 5 lakh, 6 lakh followers. One is from Rourkela, which is like perhaps tier 3 city in India, and the other girl is again from Orissa. I'm forgetting the city name, and they are teaching how to speak American accent and how to speak UK accent, and they have learned on your own. So I think today all the data, information, training which you need is available on internet for free.
Absolutely.
It is just about your intention to say that, look, I will go and take that initiative and I'm going to learn and equip myself and be available, when opportunity knocks the door, I'm ready for it. I think it's all about that. You don't have lack of information, you don't have lack of resources. Almost virtually everything is available free of cost for you. So instead of wasting time in following up, you can follow all the educators, all the speakers on Instagram. You can also follow Aishwarya Raz and Preeti Zintas of the world on Twitter and Instagram. Choice is yours. Right? Platform is saying it is equally. Both of them are equally available. If you want to learn, go follow the business leaders. Go follow the motivational speakers, or you can follow the Hollywood and Bollywood stars. It's your choice. So I think it's just about that.
Good. Thanks, because I mean, the maximum influencers on YouTube, Facebook, wherever they are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So where there is a will, there is a way. That's what you said it right. And Dr. Preman Kumar also did mention about it. Now, Dr. Upendra is back. So, sir, would like to ask you, I mean, I'll raise a question to you where you would like to answer and respond. In a pharmaceutical business which has gone through so much of a challenging time, basically during the pandemic and post-pandemic and all kinds of stuff, how do you see the virtual handshakes happening or in the pharma industry, and what are your inputs in that area? How do you ensure that the people who are there, who are interacting with doctors, are able to understand your products, understand your culture, all those things through virtual handshakes?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I would say it was COVID was an opportunity, I think, for the performers. and for the digitalization. And it was an era of new thinking process, wherein though now a lot of people who are into the manufacturing, they were expecting work from home. Then we made them realize that in manufacturing sector you're gonna think of work from home. So naturally you have to think of being present in the shop, in the plant and shop floor. And what was the fear? The fear was losing the life. So what we have done, we have taken multiple steps to ensure that nobody is fearful at the shop floor or maybe in the corporate office anywhere. So what we have provided vitamin C, then we have provided medicine, then we have provided the kit also, and we also roped in homeopathy college and did work as it is only. No, recruitment was through online recruitment, online training, online yoga, online class, online joining, online interview, everything was online only. So nothing is stopped. Only thing, the initially there was a hitch from the employee side. Maybe some of them workmen, then supervisor, the manager, senior manager, top leaderships, right? And we provided them work from home policy and designed a policy, and definitely that policy worked out. In addition, we have also provided some contingency policy wherein we have made a system that in case of any person dies in harness, we'll give them employment of their children and their wards within the company. This is employment. Beside this, we will also provide insurance for next 3 years and education up to the graduation. And if somebody dies in harness, definitely will give some amount, hefty amount. Of course, money cannot compensate the life, but at least some the compensation can help them and for the children and their next of kin in growing and settling the life. So likewise, many initiatives were launched, and that was successful. And because of the COVID, we never suffered. And of course, out of during all three COVIDs, we lost only two people, one from the plant, one from the marketing. We lost only 2%, and we provided them enough support. One person was supported with 1 crore, again another person again 1 crore, and beside this, free medical policy for their children for 3 years, and the lifetime and the education up to graduation level of children. So that was the initiative. These were the initiative we have taken to support them. As far as walking is concerned, our walking was not disturbed, not even a single day.
Okay.
I hope I clarified.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doctor. I mean, you gave a practical or a pragmatic view of what companies which are actually in the manufacturing space do. Thank you so much for the inputs. So I'll have the panel members respond to one question that I have, which is very important, and then we'll open it up for question answers. So we'll start with Dr. Preman Kumar, and then we can go on to the others as well. So, sir, we are all talking about artificial intelligence and virtually recruiting people, acclimatizing them, and kind of stuff, and all those things. And we also heard everybody say that all these things have an expiry date. All these things have an expiry date. Tomorrow something else might come up, and we're going to be again going around and round and trying to look at what next and how do we do it. So, is it going to be a learning for us first to use the technology? What you said earlier, the digital divide. Do we need to understand the digital space better and try and work a solution which can help the virtual handshake or the way we recruit people and the way we do the induction onboarding and also trying to help them come up to speed with the organization. Is there something that we need to do in that space? I would like to understand each one of your perspective. How is it going to be in the future? So we may want to add a few things to that, and I would request all of you to respond to it. Thank you. Start with Dr. Preman. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Nilkantan. In fact, this is really going to nail the entire conversation. I think what is really required at this stage is we need to consolidate before we really jump into making a conclusion at this point, that redefining your thought process, redefining your strategies, that is really more important. See, as you rightly said, that every technology do have a shelf life, and it might happen that after a time that is going to be out of fashion, it's going to be obsolete. But what is more important is that how we really adopt this technology. And for that, what is really important is people have to understand that before we innovate, we also have to work on the extinction plan, that what exactly we are trying to bring on board and how it's going to move on to the next technology. So business are really getting more dynamic. People are talking about bringing technology, say example, AI. So we have to understand that what kind of change in the role, what kind of adoption measures we are taking, both from the company's perspective as well as from the future employees who are really coming to join. So if you're really working on that, what kind of maybe the roles we are trying to interview for, what exactly are the competencies we are trying to build on, right? So if you really work more on understanding the competency model, if you're trying to build the capability model, which I'm sure Skill Connect is also taking a lot of measures to penetrate different talent communities and talent pool, how you educate people about that, how you make people more emotionally intelligent, that is, I think, more I think, imperative at this point of time. And if you can do that, you can really sync with this this new AI interfaces. You can really understand, because you imagine when we see CVs, we are really getting a filtered version after it is going through a lot of ATS, a lot of screening softwares, and finally we get to see that. And ultimately what happens, many good CVs are really not being shown to us. So unfortunately what happens, people are not trained for that. And I think when you talk about portraying or presenting yourself in this kind of mediums, you have to make people, first of all, culturally more strong. You have to train them emotionally so that they understand that what exactly they should do. I really take the word what Vikas has said, that this millennials or the generation Z or whatever you call them, these are the people, they're more active. But because I just want to differ one thing by saying that you might find these people are playing PUBG and all these new things, but when it comes to doing things for the right measure, it's always the emotional intelligence. People always are attracted by doing the wrong things, but doing the good thing, it takes really a proper upbringing. It takes the proper cultural training. And if you don't have that proper environment, there are 3 E's in a person's life. That is, first is always the kind of education. Second E is the environment. And the third is the kind of, the etiquettes which you bring on a person. That is very important. Yeah. And if you cannot do that, I would end up saying that there are 4 C's which I believe and which I teach my people. That first C is care for yourself. In this advancement, you should care for yourself, that what you should really do and what you should not do, right? Second C is like develop the culture, the kind of culture in which you are going to really mix up and what kind of culture you should have. And the third C is, of course, connect the right community, right? And the last C, which is really very important, is you have to have that conviction in yourself that, yes, you can do that. And if you don't have these 4 C's, I'm sure, I think this entire process will fail. It's going to be so. I think that's what I would like to conclude by saying. I think all good things are being shared by all my fellow speakers.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, like all years are on listening to us.
Thank you. So Elton, and I would request you to talk more from. Okay, this Dr. Preman Kumar very well summarized. How do you look at the corporates gearing up for future? But can you give us some inputs on the way the students should look after themselves and their capability building during this virtual handshake era, what we're talking about? So can you just get to something like a student-centric point of view? If you can just help us put that in play, that will be helpful.
So basically, from a student's point of view, for sure, they should be well prepared to generate themselves as people who can adapt to technology as well. And it's something that everyone is doing anyways. While technology does advance, it makes a lot of people a lot more quiet as well. and they're very much into the system. They are skilled, but they may not have the etiquette that is there. So one thing that they definitely need to do is ensure that they adapt to the new technology along with soft skills. Like he mentioned, emotional intelligence is something that is very, very important. I have a 21-year-old son as well, and I keep telling him he's very intelligent. He tops his college as well, but I always keep telling him that the future of any job is your soft skills. That's the number one skill that is going to be there in 2030.
Absolutely.
And if you do not focus on soft skills in the future, you're going to be losing out. So while we focus on high priority tasks and creating market campaigns and using AI, we will definitely still continue looking for the etiquette and the emotional intelligence that a candidate has. And that's the future. That's what they need to prepare for.
Okay, that's a good point. Yes, you built on the emotional intelligence. There is another book that's come up by the same author, Daniel Goleman, which is sustained performance. He's talking about that, which is more an interesting piece that he's saying, okay, you don't have to burn out. So, Preeti, one final question from my side as to Elton did talk about the student-centric approach. Can you throw more light on a student-centric? What should students look forward to in a virtual handshake space?
I think we've spoken a lot. I actually wanted to add on to what Elton was saying, and it's I'll take the liberty of making a sentence in Hindi that, व्यवहार से ही व्यापार होता है. So end of the day, soft skills will differentiate. I'm not saying you don't need technical skills, definitely, but people forget what you did, but people never forget how you did, and what you made them feel. So I think what's important for us when we start our careers is that, yes, we may have the knowledge, but the person across the table, am I able to respect that individual's experience? Okay. And that person also needs to be ready for reverse mentoring in today's scenario, because you are dealing with a very native, digitally active population. So I think this whole thing about how you conduct yourself, what are the basic values you bring to the system, what is your say-do ratio? Do I need to follow up with you for something which you have said you will do it? So those credibility building, that initial investment of, because it starts coming out in the first 3, 6, 9 months that, okay, fine, if I've given it to, Amit, it will happen. I don't have to follow up. Or, Acha, did you give it to Sumit? You please check once again, right? So each interaction, which I think as students graduating into a corporate life, we'll have to realize that, and I have learned it myself on the way, that each interaction is a perception point.
Wonderful.
And multiple interactions lead to a perception becoming your credibilities getting established. Now, if it is on a right track, great. But if you are on a wrong track, then it takes a hell of an effort to change that perception. So what you do with yourself in the initial projects, in the initial interactions and those interpoints, sometimes it could be even a walk through the corridor with a senior project manager. That's an interaction. You are going to build up a perception. So I think looking at every interaction as an opportunity to create the right perception is something which is very simple, but I think it keeps building. We don't realize it, and we got to be really conscious about it. What are signals I'm giving? And which is where, like somebody's experiences, say that, okay, fine, do I have this whole thing of having candid conversations? That can somebody say, the Preeti, that day you used a language which could get interpreted wrongly. Are there people who can mentor me like that? Do I have those career anchors? So one of the pieces which could happen in the professional organizations getting people ready is, can they have those career anchors which give them these levers, that you're not very stuck, that I have A+ grades, I'm sorted, and that brings me to a point which is there in your chat, and I'll take 30 seconds to answer that as an organization today, not only us, I'm sure many on the panel here are very, very receptive to tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, if I could just keep extending the tiers. Because if something has happened with technology is that your reach has increased, your catchment area has increased. And what now we are consciously doing, at least I can vouch for Wipro, is you are removing the compensation differentiation. If somebody is cracking the same hackathon, same case studies, you don't have to now have that class system that if you are an IIT, you get an X, you are an NIT, you get a X minus delta X. And if you are a tier 2, you get an X minus delta. No, if you've cracked the same exam, you will be up there because you got an opportunity because of technology and you are now at par with that individual talent.
Absolutely.
So just wanted to call that out so that whoever has that anxiety, I see Abhay S putting it there, please don't have that anxiety.
I know. So that's the reason. I mean, it's a very important thing because students also should understand that corporates are not going to differentiate you guys with what you are, but what you bring into the table and what are the kind of capabilities that you bring into the table matters most.
Yeah.
So communication, the way you talk, the way you present, okay, basic, like what Dr. Preman Kumar did mention, you need to be presentable. You need to come up with certain etiquettes. You can't go to an interview in a chappal. You'll have to wear a proper dress. So those are some of the things that are but natural. Even if it's a virtual recruitment, you need to be properly dressed. You need to have the proper attire and kind of stuff. All those things are there. So because I think you have been part of implementing, designing, developing, and also running it in HCL. So what is that the students should look forward to from the way they can capitalize on the technology, the way they can look at it, and over to you.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think to start with, you should start preparing yourself on how to give video interviews because in-person interviews and video interviews have its own nuances. So, and material is already available, as I said, right? You have to go and just figure out to say, what are the do's and don'ts for video interviews? Why don't you start preparing your video interviews as well, right? Because when you prepare your video interviews, like you do the reels for your Instagram, please spend some time and talk about who you are as a person. You may know certain skills, you would have done certain projects, but you talk to the person that who you are as a person, right? Because you cannot write or you cannot demonstrate a problem solving skill on the resume. You can write to say that I have a good problem solving skill, but when you're doing a video interview, you can give an example to say that how did you use that skill and what problem did you solve? And I think some of that is going to be a newish thing. The companies are going to, like I think Elton was pointing out, the asynchronous interview. A panel do not have time to talk to 50 students and ask same question to those 50 students. So we will leverage asynchronous interview. I will send those 10 questions to all the 50 students. They have to answer this question and the panel will evaluate at his convenience time. So I think some of these things is they work on your LinkedIn profile. Go and start putting what projects you have done, what is your interest areas. There are a lot of voluntary projects you can do today, right? You can go and find on the internet. A lot of people are looking for students to help them in their projects. And all that experience helps you. And like we said, right, it's about 50% what hard skills and skills, technology you learn, and 50% it's about who you are. What are your hobbies, interest, what is your creativity quotient, what is your innovation quotient, what do you do to enhance those? And I think if you can work on these two, the other 50%, is going to be more important going forward because soft skills are not soft skills anymore, right? Those are the differentiators because company also believe that I can teach anybody, if the guy has good technical aptitude, I can teach him AI, I can teach him Gen AI, I can teach him machine learning. But if the guy is not good at software skills, for example, if I have to follow up with somebody, and somebody has an attitude problem and somebody has, interpersonal skills are issues here and there, those are very, very difficult to teach. Those needles move very slowly. And unfortunately, companies do not have time to train you. So the only piece of advice I will give you is that don't outsource your career. Don't outsource your career to your college, your placement officer, your professors. Take the charge of it. Start working on it. Write your own agenda to say that what are the things I need to learn to be able to crack the interviews and jobs. And as I said, it is not lack of information. Enough is available on internet. Now you have Gen AI tools. Go to Gemini, go to Bard, go to ChatGPT, ask the question. It'll give you far better answer than all five of us have given in last 1 hour. Right? So read that. Create your own, agenda to say what are you supposed to do in next 6 months, or next 1 year, by the time your campus opportunity will come, and be ready for it. And crack
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks a lot, Vikas. I mean, you raised a very important element saying that, okay, take charge. You are the one who has to take charge. And I'm sure many of the students would be requiring the kind of mentoring that they need, which is what it's available. And you can also reach out to Skills Connect. We will get you connected with a lot of people, and we will also do this kind of stuff for you. So we are in that space, and I think the panel had a lot of values and a lot of inputs to give you guys, give the students the perspective of how it is happening in the corporate side. And also you need to be prepared for for your future. So you need to upgrade your skills, you need to do that. And I think uh, I leave it to Praveen to ask the questions that have come up, so we can direct it to the concerned panel member, so that they can respond to it. Thanks a lot, and wonderful interacting with everybody here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Neelkantan sir. I think it's been an amazing dialogue so far, and we have got interesting questions as well. As the questions were there on the chat. So, uh, Preeti touched upon that one question, but interestingly, that's a question which I'd like to ask to other panel members also. Now, what general feeling is that, and they're asking why large corporates avoid hiring talents from tier 2, 3, and 4 campuses, though there has been examples since past 5, 6 years, technology, OTT, or a tech platforms have witnessed charismatic talents are coming to notice across from domains and breaking all stereotypes from tier 2, 3, and 4 campuses. I mean, because you would have come across this kind of a question in your thing. So what do you think? I mean, large corporates are they really of this view, or there something can be done on this?
No, so I think Preeti has already answered, but just to reiterate, as far as companies are concerned, we are not doing any boundaries to say that I will only take from college A and I will not take from college B. I think most of the companies for entry level hiring has given their filter criteria, right? For example, you should be 60 plus percentage in 10th, 12th, or whatever graduation. Then there is an aptitude test. You have to give that test. There are cutoffs in that test. And if you clear those cutoffs and you meet those filter criteria, it doesn't matter which college you're from. I think earlier I agree with him to say that couple of years back it was like today you go and search for HCL freshers hiring link. You'll find the link. Go register yourself in that link. And if you meet those filter criteria and you get shortlisted, the online test will start for you. Give that test at your convenience whenever it suits you. If you clear the cutoff, you will be called for further processing or interviews. And same is for some of our competitions. So I think everybody is doing that because we realize that even if you go to, let's say, tier one, and why it was earlier for tier one, tier two, because historically the students from those colleges have demonstrated a high level of performance in the companies, right? But as technology came, and like he said, that there are people from tier 2, tier 3 as well who are coming up, becoming entrepreneurs, showing their technical prowess. Companies are realizing that I need not to do that. I can go and open the funnel, and I'm just saying that it's an equal opportunity for everybody. You come, get yourself assessed, go through the assessment. If you clear it, you're on. So it doesn't matter, right? And it may be a problem still to a certain extent, but gradually I believe that most of the companies will walk away from there. Because let's say lateral hiring today, it doesn't matter what degree you have. Once you complete 2 years experience, it's all about what skill do you possess, right? Whether you're from BIT or you're from some other college, doesn't matter. If you know the right skill. And one other thing I'd like to point out, and which is most of the companies in next 3 to 5 years will move to proficiency on skill based companies. So I may have same skill, you may have same skill, but if my proficiency is, let's say, proficient and your proficiency is advanced beginner, there will be differentiator companies will do on compensation the way I am designated or the band I have and you have. So it's very important. You have to build deep skills in this particular technology. Are you a beginner, advanced beginner, competent, expert? What level you are at, because customer is paying for that, right? He's not paying for that. You have 10 years experience and I have 5 years experience. I may have 5 years, but if I'm expert in the technology, customer will pay more billing rate for me, and therefore company will pay more to me. So I think that dynamics is changing from skill based, degree based, assessment and talent management. Everybody is moving to skill and proficiency based talent management. And so your experience doesn't matter, college doesn't matter. Please build deep skills on those respective skills. Go through these assessments, prove yourself, and then you can have a different career trajectory in comparison to anybody who may be from tier 1 and could not meet those assessment criteria.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vikas. The next question is, basically, the audience wants to ask how emotional intelligence can help in cracking the interviews. I would like to take a views from Premankul sir, and then maybe Elton on this. So Premankul sir, what would you want to share on this question?
I was actually waiting for this question and I knew it is going to come to me. So I think, first of all, somebody who actually have to understand, thank you, Vijay Mishra, for asking this question. So I believe that, EI is something which is a term which we are now very aware of. But before we understand the power of EI, we need to understand that what EI is all about. We are talking about AI, but how many understands EI? Right? So I think you need to understand that EI is all about the 5 pillars, that how exactly you are aware about yourself, what exactly you have done about your emotional regulation, whether you really know about how to really put up your emotions in the positive way, whether you are really socially intelligent enough to mingle with the right group and the right communities. That is really important, which actually I think some of our fellow speakers said that you need to have how you present your LinkedIn, how you present your overall digital pattern. So that's what is going to make sure that whether you are from any of the tiers, tier 1, tier 2, I think these are the kind of maybe the demographical, the culture or whatever you say is there in India. But when you talk about Middle East, it doesn't exist. When you talk about Africa, it doesn't exist. Right? When you talk about Southeast Asia, it doesn't exist. So I think it's all there in our mind. And emotional intelligence is basically going to help you overcome those divides which you have. So how much you are self-regulated. So if you know what exactly are your strengths, you know how to put it. In management classes, people really do SWOT analysis. So how exactly you work it out? What exactly you are deriving from those results of SWOT? How you're really going to regulate your emotions. That's important. And in fact, when you are in an interview, you really know that how exactly to put your right emotions to present yourself, how you're socially connected, how you're using your empathy. Because, many a times I have seen people, or even seasoned people, when I ask them that, why should I hire you for this job? It's a very flat question, right? But you really don't know that what exactly is behind it, why even we are asking this question. So what is that empathy, the level of empathy you have to strike the right chord and to make sure that you are really saying the right thing? Many a times people say that, I have this and that, I have got this skill, this many years of experience. So Vikas rightly said that you may have, the people are hiring for skill-based, but I would add on more thing which Vikas has not mentioned, that is value-based hiring. So people are doing value-based hiring these days. So it's not important that what kind of pedigree or what kind of institution you come from, but what kind of values you bring, right? What kind of integrity you have. I think this is what emotional intelligence is going to help you with. And finally, the level of motivation which you have, the kind of motivation which basically drives you. However, the future is AI driven, but the future is motivation driven. Trust me, my friends. So emotional intelligence is going to help you present yourself in the right perspective in front of an interviewer. So I think there's 5 things. And the final thing is, of course, the spiritual quotient, that how much you're spiritually aligned. Means I'm sure like whatever discussions we have done, if I do not talk about spiritual quotient, this emotional quotient never exists. So my friends, if we have to get the mind, body, and soul in the right connection, you need to be understanding about your own value system. And for that, you don't have to wait for any institution, any motivational speakers, or any other chat GPT to help you. It's about being aware about yourself. And emotional intelligence is what exactly aligns you for your interview and your preparation. Thank you.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to me, I take pride when I say that I'm an assessor for emotional intelligence. I've been one for the last 4 years, and this is something that our organization really dwells on. We do these programs on emotional intelligence with our doctors, with our leaders, and everything. And if you look at organizations today, big organizations like Google, Deloitte, they use emotional intelligence for assessments in their hiring process as well. Now, why does this help? Well, it just not just enhances your quality of hire, but it also shows whether this person is humane, whether he's effective, whether he's actually inclusive in the whole thing. And today we're talking about diversity and inclusion. And if these are the traits that are required for even as a leader. In fact, when we look at a lot of pointers from leaders and ask them, what exactly do you think is the most important quality that a leader should have? The number one answer that most of them come up with is empathy. And if you have an emotional intelligence which is high, you will ensure that you have your empathy in the right place. You will ensure that you regulate your impulse, you control it really well. You regulate how your control is on your emotions and things like that way. So all of this is going to give you a very humane, effective, inclusive approach to your job. And I'm sure that emotional intelligence is the way forward. It is definitely something that is going to promote diversity. It's going to improve effective communication. It's going to be enhancing your decision making. It's going to be building rapport, and it's definitely going to be improving your candidate assessment.
Praveen, can we have a couple of last questions? Because
just one question, wanted to take it to Bhupendra sir and Preeti ma'am. So the question is basically campus hiring is a highly operational process, from a HR perspective. Now, virtual handshakes or virtually doing this processes definitely helps, as per that's what more the view panel also has said. But what is the current challenge that, a lot of these industries and a lot of these companies are still not accepting this, So that's a question which has been asked. Quickly, can I have your views, Bhupendra sir, and then maybe Preeti ma'am?
Yes. Oh, okay. It is always good to see physically any of the person for the interview, right? It is always good. Why? Because we can come to know, we can come to know his way of walking, way of sitting, moving, way of chit-chatting. The physical realization can be done. Whereas in a distance location, if we are conducting interviews, sometimes that characteristics are not visible. So what we do, that academically person is okay, but behaviorally, that we find sometimes there is a flaw. So and recruitment is such a thing that it is easy to hire any of the person, but difficult to retire or difficult to discharge a person. So hiring decision is very critical. One wrong hire creates difficulty for everybody. So that is what my thought process is, that it is always good, though we may conduct preliminary interview by virtually, so that the cost of hiring is reduced. So the preliminary interviews could be through this virtual process, but when we are going to make a final decision, he must visit physically to the plant or maybe to the corporate office and also see the location, and it is good for both the side to be doubly sure that we are hiring a right person. So that is what my suggestion is.
very, very nicely put. So when you've raised this question to Preeti also, so I would like her to add to one element of it. You talked also about the unconscious biases that were there, and how is it going to happen? So can you link up the two, emotional intelligence and the manager's perspective on how to get it done? That will help us understand this feel better.
Yeah. No, I'll just probably comment on the last question since I was pulled in for that. I would say that the hesitation from the industry is also about the level of maturity of that industry and their talent supply chain, situation. So if you have the bandwidth, you have the luxury of time, you have a very niche requirement of talent, maybe we can go through this 9-yard process still, while I'm not undermining it. But if you're in an industry which is very disruptive, which is a volume game, which requires speed, agility. I think the organizations are making that transition of virtual, leveraging technology to the extent possible, and then bringing in that human element wherever it is needed. So I would say it is a function of the industry level of maturity, whichever, you're operating. Some of them, if you don't embrace it, you will lose out on the talent war game. On your second question, in terms of, the whole thing about the emotional intelligence and that whole element of people being ready, I think it is more than emotional intelligence. I would also say at times emotional restraint, because we often have this thing of things wanting to change fast, things wanting to turn out fast. So that is a generation which we are dealing with, who are multitasking, who want instant gratification, who also want changes happening very fast. So, and they are looking at a very, very large purpose of what is it that I'm getting into. It's not about a project coding happening. It is about what is the end outcome of what I'm doing. So if organizations are able to give that larger purpose, if I identify with the larger purpose, I think there is a higher chance for me to be mentally ready for that piece of work I'm getting into. Vis-a-vis, you're getting into an SAP ABAP, fair enough, but SAP ABAP where? Is it manufacturing domain, the high-end, engineering happening inside a car, or a sales and distribution piece happening? Where is it? And how does it impact the last customer of that organization which you are doing, whether it is you do it for Nike, you do it for Apple, where are you there? You have a sense of pride of the larger outcome you're creating. I think that also helps in building yourself emotionally ready for the organization. And I think today the generation is also looking for a value alignment. If I see an organization producing something or generating something which is not in line with my personal value system or ethics, I think people are refusing that organization. So you are also being judged as an organization in which space you operate and how you operate. So whether we like it, we don't like it, there is Glassdoor out there. There are people putting comments out there. And of course, your own overall, image, which is there. So some of this has a higher chance of dilution in the new technology space. Sometimes in the past, it took time for news to travel. Today, an organization does one error or you make one wrong choice, you are also equally being judged very fast and written off in the campus. We got to be mindful of that. So for me, if you have to ask me any of the questions today or any of the situations, I think there is an equal participation needed from the organizations. I can't expect a campus to do everything. I can't expect a professional services organization to get me ready if I don't partner getting it aligned and customized to my need of my industry segment at whichever stage of maturity I am. So yeah, those are my 2 cents.
And if every organization contributes this, then the overall talent pool also increases. So you can choose the best from the talent pool available. That's a brilliant way to put it. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Amazing. And so far we are running out of time. So quickly, we just need 2 takeaways, 2 bullet points, as per you. So, Ethan sir, starting from you, just quick 2 takeaways. Mr. Elton?
Yeah, sorry. I would definitely always end. Is AI ending the recruiter's job? I think that's a question that's always there. Well, I definitely say no, but it's definitely not replacing jobs of recruiters. But what we definitely see is that people who do not use AI will be replaced by people who use AI, and it's definitely essential to benefit from what AI has to offer. And the new TA strategy should be that we spend time on high priority tasks while AI is doing its job. We need to create job marketing campaigns, have an in-depth conversation with hiring managers, focus on engaging candidates, maybe create a great onboarding experience. We mentioned about that. And also have a very non-biased, accurate, streamlined recruitment process. And I guess this should be the takeaway for virtual handshakes in the future. And I guess this is my two pies bit.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Premankul sir. From you.
I would just conclude with 2 takeaways, which I think is very important and which has surfaced out so nicely in this conversation. Firstly, not really stay away from this new disruption that is AI. So embrace AI and know how to showcase yourself with the AI and have more and more AI interactions. Participate in more of the virtual fairs, virtual job fairs, understand what these video interviews are all about, get more insights from these AI-driven tools so that you can prepare yourself well. And the second thing is, which is really important, is engage with the right community who can really boost you for this kind of profession and the jobs which are really nowadays more AI and virtual driven. So I think that these two things are very important. So first is definitely understanding that how exactly you start implementing and adopting this technology more into your career, get your skills more aligned and showcase your skills which are more digitally driven. And then the second thing is that you should immerse more yourself into engaging with the right community who can boost you to participate in this kind of exposure. And probably that could be Skills Connect and maybe this people like Accurate Solutions and all of you which you are doing. So I think listening to this kind of forums and getting more insights, more experiences, and more learning from that will be the feed forward for the people and the audience today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Premakur sir. Because may I have your two takeaways on this?
Yeah, so two simple one. One is use your natural intelligence and leverage artificial intelligence to do better for yourself. And the second is, I think to students, I would say, because we're talking about virtual and digital, think of yourself as an app. Do the bug fixing, release the new version of yourself every 6 months. Think about what you have learned new, right? And that's the only way to go forward. It's not only true for you, it's true for ourselves as well. No matter how much experience you have, if you're not upgrading yourself, you're going to become obsolete. So I think that's true for all of us. I think that's the only two takeaways I have.
Okay, I was just listening to one speaker from Stanford University. I don't recall his name. He said AI is not going to replace people, but what is going to replace one another person is who knows better, who knows more, is going to replace the other person. That's what is going to happen. AI is not going to replace. So, thanks a lot. So,
Great.
I think we are done with the questions, right? And
Questions we're done. We're just taking two takeaways from each of the speakers. So I've taken from Vikas, Elton, and Premakur sir. Preeti, quick takeaways. Two.
She said that. Now you can ask Dr. Bhupendra.
No,
Okay,
I'll
okay.
take a stab at it. No worries.
Please do.
Yeah, so I think already said technology is there to stay. You got to embrace it and embrace it responsibly is what I would say. And second is while you have AI, the responsible AI should be what we should be all looking up to in terms of helping you do your job better rather than becoming a filter for taking a yes or a no decision. And which is where I see one question there in the chat, that is it a wrestling match or is it a handshake? I just want to say that, it's neither of the two. I think you need to use it for enabling yourself better. And that's my thought there. And, the human piece cannot be replaced. But some of the other pieces which the humans were doing, I think there is this efficiency which is coming in because of a tool that we should leverage it. But we can't just give up the piece which we have in the final decision making, where all of the inputs actually play a role to make that call. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. I think a lot of said. Bhupendra sir, any takeaways from your side? I think a lot of things is discussed, but I would still take that liberty. Bhupendra sir?
Yeah, I think application of AI is a new chapter which is well taken because in the times to come for training and development, in the old system of identifying training needs, through HODs, through KPIs, through KPRA, that will vanish. Today, AI will replenish or it will substitute. It will be a substitute for traditional identifying method of trainings to customer complaint based training programs. So that AI will definitely change the method of training and development and recruitment and PMS and everything in the times to come. So as one of the speaker rightly mentioned, it will not replace people, but it will replace that skill, basically, who is more skilled, who is less skilled. So now we have to tune to the need of the hours. Today we need the fastest decision and going digital. So we have to everybody has to get into the shoes of upgrading ourselves in the times to come. AI is going to be worldwide acceptable formula, And of course, many of the companies started doing this, and it will help not only in decision making, but also in very good presentations to the senior management. So they need not to dig the time for preparation of PPT on updation every day. It is by default, updation will be there. So all as a senior can understand that need of the hours and accordingly upgrade accordingly. So thank you so much for taking up such a nice session. I really loved it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I think, I must say that, this panel had about, and Ranu had written 148 years of joint experience. So I think it's been really rich and that way, I mean, amazing session. This is the longest session we have done so far. So I am thanking all the panelists, Preeti ma'am, Mr. Elton, Mr. Premankur, Mr. Vikas, and Dr. Bhupendra. And most importantly, Neelkantan sir, thank you so much. You've been so fluid and so amazing throughout the webinar. Again, thank you for all the participants. Thank you very much. And we will see you very soon in the next webinar we would have. And keep watching this out. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you for the wonderful interaction again.
It's really a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.